The voice technology that we're interested in is with young voices, so children's voices, and it's only in the past couple of years really that I think that it's kind of developed well enough, because there's nothing worse than using voice technology that fails to recognize your voice and keeps telling you that you're getting things wrong when you're not. So given those advances, if you like, we've got really interested in what we're doing, because the platform that we use has, kids connecting and communicating, and obviously it's a kind of no-brainer that they might want to leave voice messages rather than just typing and answering sort of, that way. So I think it's got potential to be, huge. And obviously in this current situation, where you're trying to find ways to give children a kind of personalized experience and a kind of warmer experience, if you like, then I think voice has got so much to offer. Within the platform, we use sort of fairly basic voice technology at the moment, though, as I say, that's partly because we were resistant to the idea of putting in something that would then turn out to be kind of a negative experience. So children can, within the sort of learning side of our platform, where they're actually practicing English within Littlebridge, if you like, they can join in with kind of pre-set conversations and have their responses recorded, and and be prompted when they need to improve, and so on and so forth. But we are looking, as I say, to expand that to actually work using voice for their own messages, their own conversations, rather than the conversations that we're setting up using the characters in Littlebridge that they engage with. What we see as a great potential is for them to be able to engage with each other using voice technology. First and foremost, we're an online community of children. We think there's a real need for kids to have a safe place to connect and for their voices to be heard. And they shouldn't be in the kind of other social kind of communities or networks that exist for adults. Many of them are, we know, but there is supposed to be an age limit. So the children we're looking at are sort of between the age of 6 and 12, and particularly that area, sort of 9, 10, that sort of area, where they're beginning to get curious about themselves, about the rest of the world, and about using social media. And then the obvious thing is, well, yes, that's great, but if you're going to encourage them to talk to kids around the world, then they need to do it in English. And if you're going to teach them English, then sure, you can teach them the things that they need to pass exams, but can you actually teach them how to communicate? And that's where I think voice really becomes interesting, because that's what we're all about. Sure, we make sure that children who are learning English with Littlebridge can pass exams, because we know that's very important to other stakeholders, parents and teachers, but for the children, the primary urge is to communicate. We then actually did a piece of research with UCL Educate, under the UCL Educate programme, to look at the actual data, to look at what is the relationship between really positive learning outcomes and social engagement. So we found that the children who are more active as communicators were also doing more activities to improve their English, and they were getting better scores in the activities. So for us, that was the real result, sort of thing. I mean, like you said, we also had evidence that they were passing exams. I mean, schools wouldn't continue to use our platform if they weren't able to be sure they were going to get the children through whatever tests and exams that, whether internally, or there's quite a few international tests that schools put children in for English. But for us, the real breakthrough was when we saw this kind of positive result about communication, because that's really what we're about. kind of not surprising that, you know, once everyone was facing, you know, having to deliver learning through digital means, that EdTech companies were going to see a big uptick in their, you know, in demand. What I think is more interesting, and I really do hope it's going to happen, is that people are going to start to think about the real role of education technology in the broader education picture. You know, I don't think we should sit back and think, oh yeah, well, it worked really well when most kids were stuck at home and couldn't, you know, interact with their teacher or indeed with their classmates. It's looking at the long term that I think is really interesting, and you know, this could prove to be a massive experiment that yes, met a particular need, but actually is opening a window on how we could rethink the way education happens and what is the role of EdTech. We're in the sort of K-12 sector, but we believe in the setting really strong foundations for learning, and the kinds of skills that we would like to think that we're helping kids to build are lifelong skills, in the sense of, you know, being able to join the global conversation because you can speak English, being able to connect with children around the world and develop empathy and a curiosity about different ways of doing things and thinking and that kind of thing. The skills that we're giving, and those are the things that I think most people want to focus on now when they think of lifelong learning. It is this kind of openness and readiness to continue to learn, and to develop those kind of skills that computers aren't going to be able to do instead.